And we are recording with Dr. Dale Comstock on Thursday, January 2nd, 2024 at 12:06, wait, 2025 at 12:06 p.m. Eastern Time. Um, Guys, please go into the description. You can follow Dale on Instagram. You can find the links to all of his coaching. You can find the links to his book, American Badass. He's got another book coming out. All that good shit. I highly recommend following him. It's a legitimately a fun Instagram to follow. And for everybody that doesn't know Dale, Dale was youngest ever member of Delta Force, CIA Ground Branch, Black Belt, Jiu-Jitsu, PA, all this shit, and mercenary. And seeing it, the the bomb go off, and the cyber. Well, I guess there's the plowing through New Orleans, and then yesterday was the CyberTruck bomb going off outside Trump Tower, and I was like, I happen to know like a car bomb guy. And and so I texted you, and of course, it's midnight your time, but yeah, I'm gonna post a live link to this show, Dale. What do you think I mean, that wasn't just an accident. It didn't just go up.
No, no, I don't think so either. But I've never really considered using an electric vehicle for a VPID, but I guess, well, here we are. The guys have figured it out, right? I guess it's not that hard after all. And apparently it was laden with explosives, not explosives, but fireworks as
Hmm.
well, and other fuel tanks and things like that. So. Um, like I said, it was first for me. I'm pretty good at car bombs and making car bombs and using car bombs. um, with regular explosives, but
Yeah.
and actually usually I don't attack the fuel tanks. I mean that would be nice if I could get a fuel tank to burn also, but the problem with gas tanks is in order for gasoline to burn, you've got to ignite the vapors. The liquid doesn't burn. So
Hmm.
in order to detonate a gas tank, you've got to start the explosion on the top of the tank so you hit the vapors. Because if you try to set explosive on the bottom of it, the gas tank, you'll probably just spill gasoline everywhere and you won't get that combustion that you're looking for, that incendiary or thermal effect. So yeah, so this is a little bit different, right? So you got batteries. We know that lithium batteries burn, and they burn hot and they burn fast. And I don't know how he probably or how they actually ignited it. There had to have been some mechanism in place to overheat those batteries to get them to burn and cause some type of ignition. And what they were probably looking for, what I suspect they were doing with the fireworks is, and if there was, I think there was, I can't remember if it was gasoline, a gasoline tank they put in there, or extra gasoline, but it sounded like some type of liquid fuel. And more than likely, what they were trying to do is use the explosives to help create a secondary effect or the secondary explosions of the gasoline, right? So, and I've done this before. I've made bombs, literally car bombs, where I've used, without getting into too many specifics and giving away stuff that people might want to fucking use one day. I've used, um, I've used materials that would also ignite and then create a thermobaric effect in that it burns up all the oxygen and sucks everything inward, especially on a closed vehicle. And then also ignites gasoline, the vapors. So you get a thermal or basically an incendiary effect, right? So you get flame. First you get lack of oxygen. You get an implosion. Then you get the fire effect, which helps with the explosion, and also hopefully secondary ignition of, for example, the fuel tank, and then thirdly, burning of any flammable, any material that's susceptible to flame. For example, I blew a car up one time intentionally in combat, and I put the charge over the top of the gas tank inside the vehicle, and it was able to, one, um, cause a thermobaric effect. Two, the incendiary piece of it actually ignited the car on fire, and it literally burned this entire armored vehicle to the ground like to a smoking molten piece of metal. I think the lithium thing, because it burns hot, it doesn't really explode. It just burns violently hot. I've never seen lithium explode like, like gasoline or any kind of explosion, but it does burn hot. And I think that maybe what they were hoping was with the fireworks and the gasoline to get that thermal explosion, right? So you get flame. And I don't know about, I know there was what, seven wounded and the driver was killed. I'm curious as to how the seven were wounded. What was the mechanism of injury? Was it thermal? Was it free? Were they burned? Did it sustain burn injuries? I doubt they got fragmentation or any type of a missile launched at them. So most likely it was probably some type of a thermal effect, is what I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't read. I mean, I looked at the news a little while ago and I haven't seen any specifics yet. But I think you know, there's a, if they wanted to really kill a lot of people, there's a better way to do it than just blowing up a Tesla truck, right, and burning it up. So I
That
think
was that was my
it was a
first thought.
statement. Yeah, it was a statement. It was a statement. The driver killed himself because he needed to be in the vehicle and cause the thing to burn up with him in it. Somebody probably lied to him, um, but I don't think it was intended to literally cause a blast effect where it caused a lot of damage or overpressure or anything like that and throw missiles. I think it was designed to give a thermal effect, scare the shit out of people, and people who were probably close by probably did get some type of a burn effect from it, is what I think. So
No, yeah, my first thoughts were like you could fuck shit up so much more with I mean it's like when you talk in your book American Badass, like Modelo Prison, you're talking about like the difference between just like a little bit more C4 or Semtex or whatever the fuck you guys were using. And like that's, but that's all things considered, it's a pretty relatively small thing. And then you have suicide bomber, okay, you can fill up like a plate carrier, a chest rig, maybe a backpack, okay. It- Even a car. I have a Honda Civic. Even a car, you could neatly stack that shit in trunk back, even if I don't have to leave it there overnight and worry about people seeing it. You cover up everything, put it in duffel bags in the seat so it just looks like luggage. You could fill up in a Civic. You could have blown out the first floor of that entire like building, and then a Cybertruck, even
yeah.
bigger. You could have almost like Timothy McVeigh level. I know that was a rider truck, but you could really fuck shit up, which then begs the question is, well, why didn't they? And it seems to be a statement.
Well, you're right. So, well, first of all, ironically, the day before, a guy did use a truck and kill a lot of people with it, right? So he ran
Yeah.
them all over. So, there's your mass casualty weapon, all right? And then he got out and started shooting. And so the vehicle in and of itself could be the mechanism for, death. So for them to use a Tesla truck and just stop and just, catch it on fire, and get a violent burn going, it had limited effect. Yeah, seven people got, injured. I don't know how badly. Most likely, I'm assuming probably some type of a thermal effect. Um, but it wasn't a spall. It didn't get hit by spalling or any kind of fragmentation or missiles, I don't think. I mean, I saw a little bit of an explosion, but it was more of a thermal type of explosion. It wasn't really a very violent explosion. So, the other thing too is fireworks are not really considered explosives. They're actually not. They don't what they call deflagrate fast enough, right? So they have a lower deflagration rate, so they're not really considered explosives. Even though you might pack a bunch of them into the back of a Tesla, you can get a fireworks show, and you'll probably get fire, as as we saw from the lithium batteries and possibly the fuel tanks. That's why I say you get thermal effect, but you're not going to get, unless somebody's standing right next to the truck, the likelihood of them getting injured is probably not very high, depending on the fireball. So there was so I think that's why the Tesla truck was more of a statement. And all you got to do is, well, you got the effect that you want. If the truck went off and seven people got hurt, and so that's enough to scare the shit out of people, right? And now everybody's probably scared of Tesla trucks whenever they see one, or Tesla cars for that matter. Like, oh my God, is that gonna catch on fire? Um, so you point out a couple other things earlier. Trying to remember what it was. As far as you know. one of the vehicles in themselves can be a weapon. Just velocity alone of the vehicle can, can take people out, the kinetic force from the vehicle to the thermal effect of a car blowing up or burning up. Um, and then there's the psychological aspect of it. I don't know, man. I'm convinced that both of them were some type of terrorist attack, whether they were related or not, I don't know. Maybe they were, but here's the scary part, right? Is we know for a fact that not only do we have homegrown terrorists, because that's what the guy in New Orleans was, he was a homegrown terrorist. Um, I don't know what the status is of the Tesla driver, but we do have homegrown terrorists, but we also have imported probably
Hmm.
thousands of them, right? Thank you, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Mayorkas, all you son of a bitches. You have put us all at risk. And I know that because, as you know, and I've already made this statement, and I've come out with it. I've been on, Alex Jones show. I've been on quite a few shows lately, and I just had enough with the U.S. government and the way they're treating American citizens and veterans, particularly abroad, that I've come out and told my story that, I actually I've made the top of the list. I'm a priority target for Al Qaeda, as per the DOJ. And so when they call me and when I talked to them last year, circa March, April timeframe, they didn't want me to disclose the fact that Al Qaeda was actually looking for me in my hometown of Florida, like literally looking for me. All right. So they put the local police on alert, they put surveillance on my house. I've got other Green Berets that are my friends that are retired or either been discharged that live in my neighborhood that have actually seen people snooping around my house and my garage. Um, so the
Jesus.
reality is terrorists, Al Qaeda, ISIS, and others are in our country. They've been let in on purpose by our government. It's no accident. They let them in, and they're here to stay. They're here to wreak havoc. And I've said this 10 years ago. The day will come where we're going to start seeing ambushes. We're going to see VBIDs. We're going to see suicide bombers. All that stuff is coming. And in last what 48 hours, we've had at least two incidents already, and that's not the end of it. There's going to be a lot more of it. And so yeah, these will we see more VPIDs? It's possible. And I have a theory on what I think is going to happen. We might, but by the way, it's not hard to make IEDs, improvised explosive devices. We call them HMEs, homemade explosives, and you can literally make them at home with hydrogen peroxide, acetone, other admixtures. It's almost like making cooking meth, right? There's a process to it, but you can literally make, for example, triacetone triphosphate. There's a couple others out there now that are getting to be more popular. One of them is made out of erythritol, which is a sweetener,
Uh-huh.
right? They're actually in that, and it's got a very high RE factor. TATP has a RA factor of 0.55. That's relatively low. It's a heaving, pushing type of explosives, unless it's contained, like in a pipe bomb. And then the erythritol is at 1.99, which is like one of the highest RE factors out there relative to effectiveness, right? So it's super fast. And there's a lot in between, right? You mentioned Timothy McVeigh earlier, the Oklahoma City bombing at the Alpha Primero building. That was 1,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate, ANFO, right? Ammonium nitrate fuel oil mixture. And I think he had them in 55-gallon drums,
Yeah.
but he had 1,000 pounds. If you look at the pictures of the building, he literally took the face off the Primero building, killed a lot of people. That's a HME, very simple to make. And by the way, there's so many ingredients out there that you can combine and make bombs out of that, you're not stopping this. Okay, you're not going to stop it. And I assure you, the terrorists that have come across our border and even the ones that are in our border have learned how to use this stuff and are know how to make it. Like I said, I was a little surprised on the Tesla truck one, the electric battery thing. Wasn't ready for that one. And that's like, okay, that's a new paradigm in VBIDs, vehicle-borne explosive devices, right? That they're using batteries in these electric vehicles. Um, I've always been a little leery of these vehicles anyways, just because sitting on 1,000-pound battery ensconced in a vessel, being bombarded by what we call electromagnetic
Hmm.
smog energy, it can't be healthy for you either literally at the DNA level, the cellular level. So, the car in itself is, oh yeah, it might be green, renewable, that's subjective, but the problem is
No,
you're
it's not.
sitting in a vehicle that's literally irradiating you on a daily basis, so expect to see a lot of a lot of illnesses and cancers, in the future. And everybody's like, well, where'd that come from? Well, look at the car you're driving. Nobody's talking about that yet either. But anyways, using it as a bomb, that's a new one. You know, using it as a car to drive people over with, that's an old one. It's been done before. It's actually pretty good, pretty effective,
Yeah.
you know.
Nice, France,
And
2015, 2016. You remember that one?
yeah, by the way,
'86.
when we talk about homemade explosives, so I guess the New Orleans bomber had explosives also, IEDs. I don't know what kind. They haven't disclosed that. My guess is most likely probably TATP. That's like that's the explosive of choice for terrorists because it is easy to make. The problem with TATP though is it's not very stable. I've heard, and I can't confirm this, but I was told that they've learned how to stabilize it, so it's a little easier to handle. Otherwise, it's very sensitive to uh, any type of shock or mishandling or heat. It could cause it to detonate. And it doesn't take much. By the way, if you were to put a pound and a half of C4 or TATP equivalent into a small pipe bomb, a 12-inch pipe bomb with a 2-inch diameter on it, you can wreak some serious havoc out of that. In fact, there was an incident here in Indonesia a few years ago where a guy came back he was radicalized, went to Syria, became an ISIS fighter, came back, radicalized his entire family, his wife, two little girls, and his two teenage boys. He built a bunch of pipe bombs. I got all the pictures. They're pretty damn good, too, I got to tell you. And he stuffed about 4 or 5 of them into a backpack and had his kids ride into a Catholic church with a VBID in a backpack. So about five of these pipe bombs, so probably close to about 7 pounds of explosives went off. And I forget what the casualty count was, but I've got pictures. There was quite a few people were killed. And the blast radius was easily the kill radius was probably I'd say 10 to 15 meters. For sure, if you were near that bike 10 to 15 meters, you're probably not going to survive it. If you got hit with any spalling or bones from the riders and etc. The other thing you mentioned was the packing a vehicle with explosives. I've done the calculations on that because I've had some ideas about some things I want to do in the past. No, I don't want to do a VPID on anybody, but in combat, I've done the calculations, right? And so you're right. You could take, for example, a small car, maybe a Honda Civic, for example, and you could easily pack 500 pounds of
Yeah.
explosives in that and make it where nobody would know it's in there. And you wouldn't have to put it in duffel bags or suitcase. Literally, you pack the seats, you pack the spaces in the door panels, the spare tire. You could use sheet explosives and line the liners of the headliners, the flooring, and nobody would know what's in there. You can
Yeah.
at least 500 pounds or more of explosives that's all tied together in a system with a circuit, if you will. And now you've got a VBID, right? A bomb, and the car in and of itself becomes a hand grenade. It throws
Hmm.
shrapnel everywhere when this thing goes off, right? And oh yeah, let's put some bunch of fuel in there too, so we get the thermal effect. And that's actually a conservative figure, that 500 pounds that I'm giving you. Like I said, I've done the math, and you could introduce a lot of explosives. And the reason I say why would you, you know, pack everything in the seats and things like that? Well, normally you know, se- like if you're gonna go through a security checkpoint, everybody looks inside the car, they go look
Hmm.
inside if there's anything, they go, well, nothing here looks pretty empty to me, when in fact is laden with
Exploded.
explosives because you concealed it, right? I have to deal with this in this part of the world because I do a lot of training with the local security guys, and I always got to kind of chuckle because I watch them stop a car. Hello, sir. How you doing today? I'm gonna have to check your car real quick, inspect it. Is it okay? Yeah, and they open the door and they look at it. Yeah, it looks all clear to me. They lift the trunk up. Ah, nothing in there. Click in. Come on in, sir. And then I asked him, I said, what are you guys looking for? We're looking for explosives. I said, describe to me what the explosives looks for. And I can see the cloud over their head, and I see like five sticks of dynamite with a red alarm with the alarm
Yeah.
clock and a wild coyote,
Yosemite Sam.
Acme Dynamite Company, and
Meet
that's what
me.
they're looking for. I go, no, you're not going to find that. I said, there's probably about 18,000 different configurations for explosives, sheet explosives, slurries. There's a lot of ways you can introduce explosives. And the average person, if they don't know what they're looking for, they're not going to pick it up. They're not going to see it. Like, for example, when we talk about slurry mixes, it's literally explosives that can come in, think of like a substance that looks like either concrete, mortar, or paint, in buckets, and it's actually and maybe it's like a thick slurry, and they use it for mining operations. They drill holes in like granite, and then they pour this stuff down in these holes, and they get it all the way down, and then they stem it, and they cap it, and then they break the rocks. But you can make it any color you want, and almost in any kind of consistency. And you can literally put it in paint cans, and people think, "Oh, this is just paint." Yeah, no, it's not paint. It's actually explosives, but they put some red paint in it to make it look like paint,
Yeah.
some fruit dye or whatever. So yeah, look, man, and what I'm sharing with you is not classified information. Any guy who's worked with explosives can figure this shit out. In fact, it's open source information. It's all out there. I give online course. I teach online courses for security guys, experts, law enforcement, etc. I teach them how to look for explosives. I teach what's called explosives theory, to teach people how to look for it, understand how it works, so that not just lifting the trunk. I'm going, yeah, ain't nothing there, and they close it up, and then they send the guy in, and he blows the place up because they didn't know what they're looking for. Um, I love explosives. I like working with explosives. I've been working for them for a very long time. You have to respect. Uh, and it's really easy to blow fingers and toes off or kill yourself if you're not careful, you know what you're doing with explosives. And a lot of terrorists do kill themselves making explosives because they don't know. I remember I was outside, well, I was in Fallujah, and no, sorry, not Fallujah, Sadr City. And we went and hit a target when I actually hit two targets in one night in the same city, which is like you don't usually do that. But we got a little gut balls and we did, and we stayed in a little longer than we needed to. And we had two teams set up IEDs on us on the way out, and they both blew themselves up, putting in their own explosives, right? They set up their own ID. We got to blow these Americans up, and then, they blew themselves up, right? The third one did set up VBID, or set up an IED on the road, and it did go off, but it didn't have any effect on our vehicles. So he actually total of three that night. Two of them blew themselves up, and the third one did get one off, but he missed. Um, so yeah, you know. I would tell people out there listening, expect a lot more of this. It's not going to go away. It's just not. And we have, not say we, not we nothing, those assholes that call themselves our government, the current regime, they did this deliberately. They knew what they were doing. I don't know why they would do this to American people, why they would allow this, but they did do this. And it was intentional. I mean, even Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder could see what the fuck was going on. And literally, here we are. And it's gonna be like this for a very long time. We have literally introduced ourselves to a time and a place that's gonna look very much like, remember when Ireland and Britain were fighting?
Hmm.
We're there now.
Yeah.
We're there now. And so. And then you throw in the factor that we've got, I don't know, what is it, 20, 30 million criminals across the border. And that's what I'm going to call them. They're criminals. I don't give a shit why they came across the border. You couldn't enter our country illegally. And so you are a criminal. And therefore, we're going to have to deal with those assholes. And I'm going to tell you, unfortunately, a lot of families that came over here with good intentions will probably go humbly, and go along the way. But you know what? The bad guys ain't leaving, and they're going to resist. And they're going to be basically, I think they're going to target law enforcement. They're going to target everybody, those that are coming for them. And I believe it's going to be, I got a feeling because I don't think we don't have the numbers of law enforcement or the National Guard to do this something as big. I think it's going to require paramilitary companies also to get on board and help with this roundup and detention and freaking getting people out. But there's gonna be there's gonna be strife, I think. I believe there's gonna be combat, man. There's gonna be combat in our streets, and it's all gonna be you think the last time with the last election, when Trump was in charge, you think that was chaotic with all the bullshit going on with Antifa, and all these other weenies. It's going to get 10 times worse, man. And they know that, and they deliberately did that. They set Trump up for failure. But I don't think he's going to fail. I don't think he's going to fail with Tom Homan and the crew he's got up on there now. And there's enough Americans out here like me that are willing to step up and round these assholes up too and do what we need to do to get them out of here. And I'm willing to go head on with any freaking terrorists out there, you know. I don't care where it's at or anytime, any place. But yeah, buckle up, hold on your hat, put out your cigarette because it's gonna be a crazy ride here on until we really get a hold of this whole situation and track down every son of a bitch that's not supposed to be here. And then we get the problem of all the homegrown assholes too. Um, they're gonna be here for a long time. Even here in Indonesia, the you have basically Jala Isla. It's a terrorist organization. It's an AQ affiliate as well, and they're constantly freaking taking out the cops here, man. That's their number one target is the cops, whether blowing them up or shooting them. They're doing it constantly here. They've agreed that okay, we're not going to be bad guys anymore. We're going to be nice, but it's bullshit. Maybe some want to be nice and not be bad guys, but there's still going to be guys that are going to be radicalized. They're not going to give up. And so there's going to be an ongoing threat. And I've seen what they've had to do here in this part of the world to protect themselves from that threat, and they still can't. You still can't. These guys blend in, and then they just show up, and then things go boom, and people are dead and they're gone. Um, it's going to take a little bit more. We're going to have to be much more proactive looking for them. And I really think the best way to combat terrorism and is every American citizen is going to have to get engaged and see something, say something, right, and maybe even do something. We're all going to have to defend our freedom because these assholes are here. Thank you again, Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. You let them in on purpose, and now we're going to have to freaking all come together to stop these assholes because they're going to kill a lot of people. And they're going to kill our children. They're going to kill our women. They're going to kill innocent people, and they don't care. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah, it's I was gonna say, yeah, the Honda Civic thing, you'd only need to hide it if, yeah, you're going through a security checkpoint. If you're
You're right.
just driving into Manhattan, who the fuck's
Well,
checking?
you know what? The thing at
Or an
on Bourbon Street,
airport? Like, where else do you
I've been to,
expect luggage?
yeah, I've been to Bourbon Street quite a few times,
Yeah,
and they normally block off the roads, right?
yeah.
Early on in the night, so you can't drive down them. So apparently they removed the barriers or something, or at least I don't know what kind of barriers they were using, some type of heavy duty, wedge type barrier, but apparently they were either moving it or they disassembled it or retracted it and they were setting up probably freaking, I don't know, some type of cones or something like that. But he got through is what he did. And so that's how that happened. What, 3:15 in the morning? It doesn't surprise me because things were kind of winding down at that time, anyways, on Bourbon Street. So yeah, I can see maybe the guy had it already figured out. He probably already did his reconnaissance. He
Yeah,
probably knew when the best time was to drive it in there. He probably knew that yeah, around 3:15 they'll start breaking down road barriers and leave the road wide open. There's still gonna be a bunch of stragglers out there in the street, drunk, walking the streets and it being merry. And
slow
yeah, perfect.
reaction time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So he did his homework too. He knew what he's doing. He had the timing down.
Yeah, no,
And
it
then of
was.
course there's three or four other people they now suspect were involved as well. Because they did find some other IEDs apparently, a couple other ones. So it sounds like it was maybe at least 4 to 5 different people in this let's just call it a cell. They were operating on this particular operation. So um, yeah, it's they're here. They're here.
And which makes me think of, and you have to think of it this way, is because like we're talking about, how easily you could make a car bomb, and even if I didn't know how to get explosives or something, yeah, I don't know, just go fucking ram my car into a gas station. Like, I mean, you can figure it out with 10 brain cells, right? Well, then begs
Yeah.
the question of like, well, then how come we haven't seen this before? And in the same vein that, you can graphically look at, you know, appearances of Antifa or BLM up to 2016, and then it kind of goes away, and then 2020 comes back. It's something that you activate. It's evil, but it's a good tactic. You have
Yeah.
to ask yourself, if this is so easy to do and so hard to defend against, how come we haven't seen it before? And you thus have to go, yeah, first you could say, It's never happened before because the NSA and the CIA are so powerful they can see everything. I don't necessarily believe that, but maybe that's the thought process. Well, then why is it happening now? Did it just get shut off? And if the answer is yes, well, then who shut it off? The follow-up could be no, they were never that powerful. They could never stop it. Well, then how come this didn't happen nonstop for the last 20 years since 9/11? I would imagine there's probably, you probably go to the source. You probably work with, Saudi Arabia, who are the fucks funding them, and say, if terrorist attacks happen on our soil, we're not buying your petroleum. And there's probably some, all right, we'll kind of pull the dogs off. Both of those scenarios, or it's just happening now in January 2025, despite decades of death to America, they've just decided now, okay. But it all points to there's a reasoning or a green light or a lack of a red light, but not necessarily a green light that is happening now. And it's happening right up to the Trump administration. Why? And it
Yeah,
seems like plan A was to give him 34 felonies. Plan B was to try to shoot him in the fucking head. That was probably plan A. Plan C was election fraud. I think Biden probably fucking wanted Trump to win because he got backstabbed by Kamala. So you're on like plan D or E or F or whatever, and it's probably something now where it's like, yeah, just because it's sloppy. I think a Cybertruck in front of a Trump building, Elon Trump,
yeah,
like it's that's like the subtlety of like of a script writer with like a 50 IQ. Like it's like so you have to go, well, why are they do it? I would imagine, and then I don't know if you saw last night, there was a mass shooting in Queens at a nightclub last night. It kind of seems like it's like 20 days of madness. I,
yeah.
I
I guess
can't think of any.
another person got killed on the subway too. What happened? A guy pushed. Oh yeah, some dude pushed
Yeah,
another
yeah,
into the tracks, right? So we got all kinds of, time. It's very unsafe, man. The world we live in, our country right now is very unsafe, and it's not going to get safer, man. It's just not. We've let in so many criminals, like legitimate hardcore murderers on top of everything else, and pedophiles and drug dealers and terrorists. That's what really scares me is the number of terrorists that have come across the border, military age males. Um, what a perfect plan, man. I mean, the Chinese were probably and the Iranians, and maybe even the Russians were like, "Oh shit, open borders, get a bunch of our sleepers over there as we can,
absolutely. Why wouldn't you? It's the right
set them
move.
up." Yeah, you basically inserted your military into our country. I mean, they just walked right in and and they're setting up shop here, just waiting to take us out from within. Again, this is man, it's just so frustrating when you realize this was all there's no doubt in
None of this
anybody's
was,
mind.
yeah, wasn't an
This is
accident.
all
None of this
intentional,
is.
man. It's all intentional. It's all intentional. Hands down, it's all intentional. And I tell you, man, honestly, I I just hope Trump this time doesn't play Mr. Nice Guy. I hope this time he really goes after these criminals, our criminals. Kamala Harris, she's a criminal. She allowed this. Biden's a criminal, his son, his family. We can go right down the list, Mayorkas. These are all criminals. They have subverted our country. They have subverted our Constitution. They have basically subverted our freedoms, and they have exposed all of us to great danger. And again, I know this because I was told they were looking for me, but I was also told not to mention it. And I'm like, well, why not? Well, don't mention it. And I know why, because they didn't want me to expose our government for what they have done. They don't want me to go, yeah, fucking Biden let in a bunch of terrorists, and they're trying to kill me. They're into my country. They don't want me talking about that. And I'm not playing the game no more. I'm not, I got zero confidence in the FBI. At least on the C-suite level. I know a lot of the field agents are fine. They're good dudes. They meant to do the right thing. Um, but on the executive levels, man, the fucking leadership, those guys aren't leaders. Those guys are criminals. And they need to be dealt with accordingly, and many others on top of that. I mean, harshly, no more Mr. Nice Guy Trump. Take these guys to the cleaners and show and teach future Americans that you don't mess around with our citizens and our freedoms, and we're not going to take it light. There will be consequences. There will be extreme consequences. not a little pat on the wrist or public humility. They've got to be, I hate to say it, but they should be freaking taken out. They should be, as a minimum, fucking put in prison for the rest of their life. I think the Constitution calls for execution. I'd be good with that. Because what they have done is they have risked a lot of people's lives, a lot of Americans' lives, and there's got to be some accountability for it. There's just no excuse, zero. And let's see what Trump does. But I think in a way things will be a little bit better for us as Americans, but I also think we're gonna have to deal with a lot of bullshit from the bad guys. They're not gonna give up. So, anyways, yeah.
If I had to find a silver lining, I would say that, and I said this when he got his mugshot. I said it when he got the 34 felonies. I said even after he got shot that these are not the actions of a regime confidently in control. Now, that's also
No,
very dangerous because I get it. You get the whole cornered animal. I understand that. But in terms of like Thomas Sowell, there are no solutions. There are only trade-offs. In a world of geopolitics where it's not all perfect, you have to take the least shitty outcome, despite as bad as it is. 34 felony counts, shooting him in the face, car bombs. I would rather this as a reaction of a dying regime being replaced by a new one, as opposed to it just being business as usual. Because if Trump didn't win, they weren't doing all this, they wouldn't need to do it because they would just keep
yeah.
slowly marching it. We need more immigrants. We need more diversity next. Your kids really, we got to chop all their dicks off. Like, so to me, this is like a screeching animal, and I get it. It's dangerous when it's in the corner, but the alternative is to the last 4 years just keep happily marching. Vaccine mandates, shut up. Inflation, shut up. No borders, shut up.
Yeah.
So it sucks, but it's having the wake up call and the doctor being like, you gotta put down the cigarettes, you gotta start doing cardio. Like, I don't want to do it. It's like, well, the alternative is you don't survive the heart attack and they find you. So it's neither are ideal, but I think there's also a certain, I guess, reality to going, yeah, they weren't gonna go down without a fight. Come on, like they weren't. You think these fuckers were gonna go down without? And they're not done. They're gonna keep doing this. They're
No,
gonna keep blowing shit up, shootings. It's gonna be bad for the next 18 days.
can you imagine when the deportations start, right? When I believe it's going to happen. I believe when Trump takes office, I believe Tom Homan is going to activate everybody he can to help. And I've heard some rumors. I
You
don't
heard
want to
like
say my
bounty rumors, like $1,000 per person.
yes, I've heard
Yeah,
that too. A
yeah.
thousand dollars a head. Dude, it's going to be Dodge City, man. And 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 holy cow, man.
Blackwater's back, baby.
Maybe
It never
yeah,
went
there's
anywhere,
gonna
but
be a
still.
lot of people back, man. There's gonna be mom and pop security shops getting involved in this one, man. It's like,
Yeah.
let's go round up some freaking criminals. And I say that, man, and I don't, and I'm not saying that lightly either. I really do believe everybody came across our border, and you didn't go through, the checkpoints and claim asylum, do all the proper paperwork, because most of them are not asylum seekers. It's bullshit. They are criminals, and I say that because I know how my wife is being treated. My wife was deported after we've been to America. We were in America many times, and you know my story, right? What happened to her and the cancer, blah blah blah, and the fact that they classified her as an unlawful overstay, as a criminal, but essentially, if you're going to label my wife that's legally married to me has a U.S. military ID card, and you kicked her out basically, and to fuck with me is what they did, then I will consider every person that's come across our border the same thing as a criminal because they're giving these assholes my tax money, your tax money, the credit cards, debit cards, transportation, fucking physical checkups, putting them in hotels. They're treating them like freaking celebrities, and they've treated me and my wife like freaking criminals. And so, yeah. they've definitely made an enemy out of me, and I'm all on board with let's round up all these criminals. And honestly, you know what? Because they broke the law, I think they should spend some time in prison. Let's just take it to that level. Let's just not kick them out of the country, just lock them up for a while and make them suffer a little bit and pay the price. Because I tell you, you do that crap anywhere else around the world, like you come to Southeast Asia, I won't name all the places I'm at, because I do travel quite a bit. You try coming into their country illegally and you try overstaying and see how that works out for you. I guarantee you're going to spend some time in their jails, which are not like American jails, which are like Hilton hotels. You're going to stay in some shitty places for a while, eating rice, and then at some point you're going to get deported, never ever to be allowed to come back. No second chance ever. They're not going to treat you like that, and like Americans do. And I think it's time that we show some we show some grit, man, and protect our country. And all this bullshit about, well, it's the melting pot. Well, no, my mom has a green card still. She still has a green card, and she's 80 years old. She came across the border. She came in our country legally, like everybody else was supposed to. Did all the paperwork, did everything she's supposed to. Married to my father, who's a veteran. My wife was supposed to have a green card. We applied for that over 3 years ago, and it should have had it in 4 months. And yeah, no, why? Because they pushed all the illegal aliens, literally the criminals, to the front of the line to give them green cards first, and all the paying customers, like my wife and my family, were pushed to the back of the line. So. Yeah, I have no mercy, no pity on anybody that came across our borders and didn't go through the proper processes like my wife did and my mother did. I have no mercy on you. I don't care about you and your kids. You can go back to your shithole and fight for your own country, okay, and do your own thing and fight for your own freedoms. Don't come into my country and disrupt my country and take my tax money and live off of my dole, okay, and make my life freaking hell. Get the hell out of my country. That's the way I look. I fought for the son of a bitch. My father did, my son did, my whole family has fought for this country. And I don't appreciate when people come across this border and just start freeloading and on my tax dollar. I'm just not gonna get with that. And I'm making some moves right now. I don't know how it's going to work, but when I say making some moves at a very high political level, I'm engaging certain people because of my circumstance, not just my circumstance, but other people's circumstances that I know that are also living abroad that are literally Americans living on the streets, starving to death. And the US government refuses to help them. I know this for a fact because I've met them, I've tried to help them. And our government has basically abandoned American citizens abroad. Um, Even me, they're doing it to me. They basically lost my wife's passports, my son's passports, on purpose. They had them and they lost them. How the hell do you lose them? They've lied to me repeatedly. They've taken my money. And I say this, and I'm not afraid of what might happen because at this point, I don't give a shit about this government, the American government, not this one. Trump government, different. This government, they're my enemy. The way they've treated Americans, treated me, they're my enemy. They allowed all these terrorists to come in to hurt American people. They're our enemy, man. They're everybody's enemy. Because you know what? Terrorists don't discriminate. That guy drove down the street in Bourbon Street, he wasn't going, I wonder if that guy's a Democrat or Republican. I hope I don't kill a Democrat. I hope I get a Republican. He don't know. He don't care. He's just indiscriminately going to run everybody over. That Tesla car bomb, do you think he'd give a shit who he killed with Democrats? I'm sure plenty of Democrats went in there, liberals, and maybe a few of them got taken out. They're indiscriminate. They don't care. So it's not just a conservative Trump MAGA problem. It's an American problem. And everybody needs to get on board with this thing and get it right. Um, Otherwise, our kids are going to pay for this shit down the road, and our grandkids, our freedoms are going to be affected. Everything's going to get affected. So I don't
And
know, man.
it's in the we gotta wrap it up in a couple minutes. What I was gonna say, I don't know how accurate this is. I have no idea, so I don't want to take it as truth. Um, but this is from earlier in so this is from around 1 a.m. this time. Post on Twitter with 8 million views. Matthew Livelsberger, 37, identified as the driver of the Cybertruck that exploded in Las Vegas. is listed on LinkedIn as an operations director and intelligence manager with U.S. Special Forces experience.
Interesting, right? Hey,
Yeah,
by the way,
I'll text it to you. Yeah.
well, you know what? I'm glad you said that because here's the other thing that's really sucks. Um, a lot of guys in special operations, not a lot, but a significant number of Green Berets, SEALs, et al. Have drank the freaking blue pill, man. Have
Yeah.
completely fucking lost their goddamn mind and they chose the wrong side. I know Green Berets right now that have turned into blooming freaking idiot Democrats, liberals. And I'm like, dude, we were on the same team in the same camp, and what happened? And so everybody's vulnerable to in this what do you call it? I call it mass hypnosis psychosis, right? Basically, it's brainwashing, right? And everybody's subject to it. And I think a lot of guys have been for example, so you're telling me the Tesla guy had a special forces, special operations background. No surprise there now. Two, the other guy had a HR military, I think it was maybe
He's
an
a
S1,
contractor, I
um,
think. I think
and
he's
a
a
military
yeah.
background, right? So you've got literally veterans now that have joined the left and the liberals and the terrorists and are now becoming the enemy from within. And that's a problem because now you've got guys that actually have training, right? That are going to be probably more effective, more efficient than any terrorists out there. So that's kind of concerning as well, but it's not surprising because um, I've met a few of these guys, and I can think of some guys right now on LinkedIn that I'd like to find them and smash their face in, that have literally gone left wing hardcore. And it's like, th- you know, and they're not even good Green Berets or good SEALs or good Spec Ops guys. They're kind of like the bottom of the barrel dirt bags, right? That just kind of made it through because they needed a job and they wanted to tab for a promotion. They're not really patriots at all. They just went through to get the damn training. Unfortunately, there's guys like that as well. And again, the military community needs to identify guys like that and start, pointing them out and go, hey, this guy's a freaking left-wing radical nut job. And at least we can keep an eye on them a little bit because now we know who they are. I can think of several right now that I know are flat out left-wing freaking lunatics and MAGA haters, man. And so I'll keep my eye on the ones I know of, but everybody else needs to watch them as well. Um, Scary times, man. Scary times when you see guys like that turning blue. That's
Yeah.
what's really scary.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't want to slander the guy because I have no idea if that's accurate, if it's just dog shit. It's but that's what they said. I think they said the car that was used in the New Orleans thing and the Cybertruck were rented from the same rental
right.
app,
Yep. They
which I
were.
mean, I don't know,
Yeah.
and I know Elon Musk said that they went and got the telemetry from the car and said that everything was perfect. There was no, check engine. There was none of that.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think it's, once is, what is it? Once is an event, twice is a coincidence, three times is enemy action. I tend to think twice is enemy action, but
I would say this time they may not have been working jointly. They may not even been with the same cell. Maybe it was coincidence that, that both those things happened, but they were both
the
definitely,
same currents or
yeah.
pushing motions at the top, they're the same thing. It's the same
Yeah.
go forward.
I think what you have a case of is you have an radical ISIS terrorist in New Orleans, and then you have a radicalized American libtard that a Trump hater, right? That did the Las Vegas thing. That's what I think it is. I'm not going to say they're both belong to the same, if you will, the same camp, ISIS or whatever it is. I think it's just coincidental that they both got the same vehicles from the same app, but I think they were probably in different camps. It just happened to be that they did their deed within 48, 24. Maybe the second guy goes, oh, fuck, the guy in New Orleans just did this. Well, let me just get in my truck and go do that too, you know? Maybe that was one of those things, a copycat thing. But so there's not just only, you know, radical ISIS, Al Qaeda terrorists in America. There's also radicalized left-wing lunatics in America. I mean, look, the two guys just tried to snipe the president. Two left-wing lunatics, right? Freaking lunatics, you know, liberal lunatics, you know, and there's a lot of that going on too, man. So, and there'll be
It's
more.
yeah,
There'll be more.
it's buckle up. But yeah, for right now, we gotta wrap this up. I know you got another one, I got another one. So we gotta
Uh,
wrap this up. For everybody listening, please go in the description. Please go follow Dale on Instagram. Please go grab his book, American Badass. And yeah, man, as always, Dale, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your expertise. And yeah, you are Mark. Amongst other things, you are also my car bomb guy. So
yeah, just so happens I got knowledge and experience in that area.
I
Never
know.
use
Yeah,
never use electric vehicle, but yeah, yeah,
adapt, overcome. I mean, that, lithium, that's not a bad thing for turning that shit into a weapon. But Dale,
yeah.
thank you so much, brother. I'll text this to you. Thank you so much for your
All
time.
right,
All right, brother.
take
Stay
care.
safe. Thank you so much.